New build conveyancing, what can go wrong? It's something of an open question. The short answer is plenty, but we'll have to do a bit more than that for this hour. In fact, it's a subject that one could spend all day on. So we're just picking certain topics and doing a general overview. You have a fairly substantial set of notes that accompany this webinar. We'll start fairly closely to what's down there, but it's impossible, given the time constraints, to say every word that's noted. But I'd rather leave more in than leave stuff out. And if you're so inclined, you can always have a look at the printed accompanying notes to fill in any further details that you may wish to know about. Well, by way of introduction, generally, whilst the basic conveyancing law and practice is, of course, the same for new build as it is for existing properties, there are certain features that will always distinguish it from other transactions with which you may be dealing. There is the element of investor clients, off-plan purchases, warranties, snagging, and government help to buy schemes. You also have obligations to your lender and the retainer implied, indeed expressed, by the UK Finance Handbook. Those are the help to buy elements. Let's look at UK Finance mortgage lending and ask what particular parts of the handbook apply to new build homes, particularly the importance of disclosure. There's the disclosure of incentives form. This has been revised from time to time, a big revision in 2018, but it includes more information, tenure type, method of construction, information on ground rents. And why it was brought in to begin with was to avoid fraud, to stop massaging a purchase price because of certain cashbacks and incentives, which would mean that the lender was actually lending more than 100% often of the real price. So the disclosure incentives form is an important one. When disclosure isn't made, there can be big problems. eServe and Goldsmith Williams, eServe, a firm of surveyors, carried out a negligent valuation. The loss that was claimed against them by the bank was £200,000. But they then sued the solicitors who were acting in the conveyancing and said, no, you've got to pay some of that. And the solicitor said, well, nothing to do with us, it's your negligent survey. But they were ordered at first instance to pay £100,000 towards it. Why? Because they hadn't complied fully with the lender's handbook in that the property changed hands within a 6-month period and they hadn't disclosed that. Well, they said it's nothing to do with the valuation, but the court looked at it to say, well, if you had disclosed it, hypothetically, the bank might not have lent, and if they hadn't lent, they wouldn't have had a loss, so you've got to pay half of it. It did go to appeal, and happily, this was overturned. But not that rationale behind it. It was overturned because the bank were aware of this sale within 6 months. They only had to look at their own file. The applicant had noted it on the application form.